What'd you have in mind?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. I sold a Yeti bar today.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. To one of our followers.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Hey, this is how we go about doing an interview. True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm shot out, all up in my head. Because what's the mechanic doing? Partying it out?
Right.
I don't know. They told me a couple of things. I don't know whether I trust them or not,
Yeah.
I wonder if I get Heather to come down and tell her paranormal story.
I don't know if I have any more stories.
He doesn't know if he has any more stories. My internet connection's unstable. See, the gods are against us.
Yeah.
The show must go on, honey.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to talk about, though.
Well,
It does suck. Okay. Obviously, we were met on that one.
Where's Terry? We should switch spots, and it should just be me and Terry tonight.
I agree. I'll go get her.
I rushed home.
Hey, wait, you want to talk about something? We'll talk about something. But
Okay.
it is getting late, so let's do something.
It's 8:30, so we got a half hour before you turn into
A pumpkin.
a pumpkin.
Yeah.
So you're not going to help?
No.
No? Okay. Well, then hit the road. Hit the road, Jack. All right. Let me change my speakers.
It was all about the woo, but like not all about the woo, but like investigating it. But
Tell me how you really feel. Does somebody need a black rifle? I'm just trying to think if there's anything I can pull out of my ass, There's got to be more material that I have.
come on, there's an earthquake.
Woo! I was going to wear my polo shirt and I couldn't find it, so I settled for a t-shirt.
I drug this one out of retirement. I hope that's okay.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeti, man.
True.
I'm not using my Yeti mug. I'm using my Squatch Talks mug. Thanks, Tira. So,
There's that water in my garden.
how is the garden?
Oh, it's very fruitful.
Nice. I want some Sasquatch. Anyway, welcome back. Let's do it again. Take two. Welcome back. No laughing.
I'm sorry, I started and you kept going.
Yeah, if you go like this and you rotate a can 3 times clockwise, the centrifugal force will make it so it doesn't spray when you open the lid. Did you ever know that?
No.
I learned that last night, as a matter of fact. On Better Call Saul. So yeah, take that to the bank.
Better Call Saul. There you go.
Night is young. You're listening to Squatch Talks Podcast. Real stories and real encounters told by real researchers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to Squatch Talks Podcast. And here we are again, just the two of us. Brian is still healing and recovering, and hopefully we'll be back soon. Nathan and I are going to try to keep the doors open, though, and talk about a few things that are coming up, and also maybe pull a couple of the stories out of our reserve memory banks. Right, Nate?
Yeah, see if we can drum up some memories.
Yeah, and we had mentioned, I think a couple of times, you've said it, at least I recall, how we've been out so many times that, every time you go out, you're not going to always have activity, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just impossible.
Just
improbable anyway.
Law of statistics.
Right.
So, obviously we could rely on other people's stories, but, we thought it might just be fun to tell a couple of the occasions where we've gone out and got skunked.
Yeah.
So
I remember that one time we were out with Art, and I think it was we were out with Art. We parked on one of the long roads next to one of the bogs, and where we parked, we popped the hood, and then we stood there for a while with the white light out under the hood. Was that us? Was that it? Yeah, we did that. Messing around like the truck wouldn't run and stuff, and then we just started walking, talking, and acting like we were stranded.
Right.
Because those are the people that get bluff charged and escorted out and all that good stuff.
How many reports have come into
Yeah.
the website, to the database,
Yeah.
with witnesses who were either broken down or, whatever the occasion, and either they're walking or they're standing by their vehicle and they have an encounter, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a strategy we attempted to,
I think the
use.
flaw in the slaw with that one is they couldn't smell any fear on us.
Ah,
Because if you actually get broke down and you're somewhere you're not comfortable with, you're gonna
you're
be
gonna have
afraid.
that. Yeah,
Your
that's
adrenaline's
interesting.
gonna be going. You're gonna be,
Yeah, you are.
know,
There's gonna
doing different shit, And we were laughing and carrying on,
Mhm.
kind of like trying to be a spectacle almost,
right.
if I remember correctly.
No,
Not that we were
totally.
like screaming and stuff, but
No, but
uh,
like that Geico commercial with the
he had a
character.
flat tire.
I have a flat tire. Somebody
Yeah, we
help
weren't doing that, but
me.
uh,
We weren't to that extreme. But,
no,
but you're right, and that was a good idea. Don't you agree? I mean,
yeah,
it's worked for other people, and
yeah,
unknowingly, of course.
yeah,
And that's kind of funny because in Tom Powell's book that I'm reading, The Locals, he
right,
mentions that these witnesses are unwilling, like they're not
yeah,
setting out to have these encounters, right?
right,
And when this book was written, it was in the early days of the internet and everything, you know what I mean? It was like 16, 17 years ago, I think it came out.
right,
So he mentions the fact that people back then were also less forthcoming with their
right.
eyewitness reports simply because they feared ridicule, right?
Yes, a lot of them still do. A
True.
lot of them still don't. It's still you get laughed at.
That's also true. But then we're also getting reports in now from people where it happened
Yeah,
way back when.
right,
And it's because of shows like Finding Bigfoot and Expedition
right.
Bigfoot and Monsters, Mountain Monsters, whatever the heck it
Yeah,
is,
making it okay to talk about.
that it's become more of, and the media in general, right?
Mhm.
I mean, even Fox News came and did an interview with me
Right,
when that couple had the road crossing in their rearview mirror in April, right?
Mhm.
So hey, I don't know. It's becoming more accepted and less of a tabloid type thing.
right.
And people are constantly. I have people coming in all the time telling me about their experiences. I'm like, that's great. Next time you see one, please call me.
Right.
But yeah, I can think of a time also that it happened to Todd Prescott and I. We were back in PA in the PNW, as we
Yeah.
like to say, the Pennsylvania Northwest. And we had gone back after the second expedition had completed. So we went back a week after the second PA expedition, which we hadn't been able to attend.
Right.
And we decided, let's go back to Camp Chip, where we had the Squatch come up on my tent and where the thermal sighting had occurred a couple of nights earlier. Just pretend to be campers, We made a fire, we cooked our food, we played music, thinking that that would be attractive to
Right.
the locals. What we weren't anticipating was this was on a 90-degree turn on the forestry road where the gas lines are. We weren't anticipating having like a campsite with like 5-6 vehicles having like a rave going on
Oh,
at the corner, campsite.
right.
So we were like kind of looking over, like, is this for real? They're going to take all the attention away from us.
Right. Yeah.
And it did. It really sucked that they were whooping it up so much that I don't think it helped our cause.
Right. Yeah, a little too much.
Way too much.
Yeah.
But we did manage, however, the next day we took a trip over to where the Jacobs photos were taken. If anybody watching doesn't know what that is, Rick and Tom Jacobs had captured what was thought to be a juvenile Sasquatch. I think it was back in 2008 in the Allegheny National Forest. So the photos were hotly debated on the blue
Oh
board
my
back
God. Yeah.
then. I mean, there was so many threads about this conversation. You could fill up 10 podcasts. But after a while, I was just tired of all the back and forth. The limb analysis and everything pointed to it being a juvie, not a mangy bear. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, but yeah,
Mangy
so
bear.
we took a stroll down to the area where that was taken, and we did wind up finding some interesting tree structures, a possible track impression, and also we got a wood knock, which was
Oh, yeah.
awesome. Yeah. And so you never know what you're going to find. That's when Todd actually taught me the proper way of doing a wood knock.
Backhand.
Backhanded, yes. And that's
Yeah.
what I still use to this day.
Yeah, you're less likely to get a wood chip in the eye that way.
And the wrist,
Yeah.
when you hit it this way, your wrist like kind of vibrates and it can strain it. So yeah, I like to do it backhanded if possible. So you just never know.
Right.
I'm out there more than most people. Art and I used to go out every other week out into the forest.
Yeah.
And many nights we would stand there, even when it would be raining, and maybe hear turkeys or some other local, deer or whatever, but not have anything come up on us. I remember a time though when my friend Tom and I, this is before I was researching with Art, I had taken my friend Tom out to one of my areas, and it was raining lightly. We had to hike in. Okay. So you park the vehicle where it's roped off at these trails. We hike in, and I'm actually set us up off trail where two game trails intersected. Okay.
Yeah.
And Tom was a hunter, so he had a better ear for certain things. This is early on in my squatching days. Okay. And so we're sitting there, and it's raining lightly, so it's really distorting my ability to hear properly anything coming in and coming up on us. But we sat there for hours in the light rain in November. It was cold, and a couple of times he thought he heard something approaching us, but couldn't really be sure. Okay.
Right.
And we sat there for a few hours, and finally I said, all right, let's go, let's call it. Comes time to leave, and like I said, I'm off trail. I'm like, uh-oh, where do we go now?
Which trail do we go on?
Which way is out, And of course, all we have is dim headlights back then. I didn't have a black diamond and all the gear we use now. I'll tell you what, I got a little tense for a moment, but then I managed to find the way back to the trail, and we managed to get out. Luckily, that's one of those aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because that's where I used to put my I had like a gifting tree, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I would put out apples and other bait type items, and leave a trail camera up. I would also leave my microphone up in the tree with a cord running down, and I'd keep my digital recorder in the little Ziploc down on the ground covered with leaves, you know what I mean? To also capture audio like Chris Noel does. You know? And
that's some low-tech LDR right there.
that's exactly what it was, low-tech LDR.
Yeah.
But it worked,
Right.
And hey, for anybody that's just getting into this and they want to just get started, you don't have to invest in all the expensive gear.
Nope.
You just need to get out there. That's the key,
Yeah, exactly. Get out there with your phone. You don't need all that stuff.
And drink a black rifle before you head out.
Yeah, you won't be able to record anything from all the vibrations.
From my skin falling off my face. And it'll definitely keep you awake should Squatch come up on your tent at the early morning hours.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You're talking about getting lost down there in the Pine Barrens. First time I was ever in the Pine Barrens was the first time I met Brian Spinner.
Mm-hmm.
He left his recorder out somewhere where we were hiking earlier in the day. And he says, "You want to go back with me and get it?" Said, "Yeah, sure." So Terry and I jumped in the car with him. We drive back, and he's out there hiking in his shorts and Crocs like always. We're walking through down this trail, and he says, "It's over on this part of the trail." And there's lizards running all over the place because that was that really crappy campground you had us at. Oh, Terry hated that. The
The one
bathrooms.
with the little outhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she hated that with a passion. She hated that. But anyway, we're walking, and he says it's over here on the trail on the left. And I looked at Terry, and she looked at me. I said, "We haven't been on the trail for like 20 minutes now, as far as I can tell. It's just it's just sand and little trees everywhere. How can you even tell you're on a trail?" I first couple times I went down there, I thought, I'm going to die out here. I'm going to get lost and just walk around in a circle.
No doubt.
It is not hard to get lost down there.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of funny because that reminds me of a time when, before I even became an investigator, right? I was just kind of following up. I was checking out the reports from my area on the BFRO's database. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to locate where one of these intimidation encounters occurred, right? So I go out in my Oldsmobile and I'm out by a quarry. And I wound up talking with one of the local rangers. They came up on me to see if I was okay, right? And he tells me about this lake, which is so clear you can see right down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, that's cool." And he told me, and he also confessed that, yeah, we got bear. I said, because I said to him, do you ever come across any large, woodland creatures? And he says, we got bear. we got cougar. I'm like, really? Said, yeah.
Yeah.
We won't admit it, but yeah. So I'm like, okay.
Just like Pennsylvania.
Right. They're all closed mouth, right? So that's okay. So that day, I never made it to where he was talking about, but I remembered him telling me this. So the next time I went back, I was again in my Oldsmobile and I drove further down the road to the end of the quarry and it started raining. So I'm sitting in my car and I could see across the quarry a SUV, like a black SUV. I'm like, oh, somebody else is out here, So I'm waiting for the rain to slow down. Next thing I know, the SUV pulls up in front of me and there's lights on it. Park ranger, apparently. And so I start to get out of my car and it's a woman ranger and she says, "Stay in your car." Okay, I put my hands up on the dashboard,
Yeah.
She comes over, she goes, "What are you doing out here?" I said, "Well, I was talking with Walt the other day and he told me about a lake that you can see clear to the bottom." She goes, "Oh, what are you fishing?" I said, "No, just doing wildlife research,
Yeah.
And she goes, "You got GP?" Oh, she goes, "Oh, we're not used to seeing people out here in cars." I said, "Yeah, I know. I've heard that before." And we've had some problems with kids partying out here. I said, "Well, no drugs, no alcohol, officer,
Right.
just enjoying nature." She goes, "You got GPS?" I said, "No." I thought you were going to say, "Would you like one?"
Yes, please.
She goes, "Do you know how to use it?" I said, "Well, that's just what she said. Do you know how to use it?" That's when I thought, well, you're going to give me one? Yeah.
Right.
I'll take one if you got an extra. But so now, this is, again, early on, around 2006.
Why was she lost?
I don't know, apparently. So I said, "No, just going to take a hike, not fishing,
Yeah.
And so she left. And I wound up going on my hike. And it's one of the only times I felt like I got lost. I did find the lake and the sky was spot on.
Yeah.
You could see all the way to the bottom, crystal clear water. I've taken Heather there since. We've gone swimming in it. And, beautiful. Yeah. And it's a hidden gem. You know what I mean? Not too many people know about it.
Yeah.
Art and I have gone there with Regina, the science teacher from Finding Bigfoot. We've done a night ops there. And actually, one night I was exhausted and I actually went to lay down in the back of Art's Jeep. I'm sorry, I'm going off the original story, but this just came to mind. I actually laid down in the back of Art's Jeep. He was sitting out in his camp chair outside of the Jeep, and Regina was sitting in her vehicle because, again, it was getting late and she was tired and I was tired. Meanwhile, he's sitting there outside in his camp chair and he hears this loud branch snap and then he hears movement coming towards us.
Yeah.
And of course, didn't have radios on back then, right? So he tries to wake me up and he opens the door, the back door, and the interior light comes on. Wakes me up and my leg starts cramping. I'm like, oh, I can't move. So I'm like, and of course, all activity after that stopped.
Well, yeah, as soon as the interior light came on, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Pretty much. So,
Yeah.
but getting back to that hike I told you I took, right? I explored this whole area, and the cool thing about this location, right? And I confirmed it afterwards by speaking with the investigator who actually did the follow-up. All right, Mike Aragona.
Mhm.
So this is before I had access to the flats.
Right.
But I did have the right spot, and this guy had gone there to do some target shooting. Okay. And at first he was alerted by this bird, the Russ Jones talks about in his book.
Yeah.
They call him tattletale, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this bird starts really going off in a tree up to his left. And he wound up getting intimidated by this squatch that like screamed at him and did a branch break and
Right.
yeah, and scared him out. But he went back the next day and he brought food offerings with him. And again, the bird went nuts again, and he wound up leaving the food and getting the heck out of there, I think. But it was an intimidation encounter. Michael had gone back and did the follow-up with him. They found some potential track impressions and a possible knuckle impression.
Yeah.
And the guy did see the Squatch also. I forget, I left that part out, but he did have a visual.
Yeah.
I think it only wound up being a Class B report, though, because it wasn't a clear visual. So anyway, I was in the right spot. So that day after inspecting the lake, I continued down the trail and I made like a loop. And I went through thick mountain laurel groves,
Oh, yeah, they love them.
They totally love those. And it was starting to get dark. I wasn't prepared for darkness, And generally I have a great sense of direction. But the woman had said, oh, that's what it was. This park ranger had said, people get lost out here. That's why she asked about the Jeep. You got GPS?
Yeah.
She goes, people get lost out here, but we'll find you. I said, no, I'm good. I got built-in GPS. And so I felt like she jinxed me.
Right.
It was like almost the first time I felt like I was lost because it was obviously a lot longer than I anticipated. But eventually I came back out on the trail and there was the car. So I was like, woo. That was a close one.
That's a weight off your chest, isn't it?
Oh, big time.
When you come out, it's like, oh, thank God, there it is.
Especially when it's just about pitch black out. You don't have a headlamp or anything with you, It's not my idea of a fun time, I don't mind being out in the daytime, but once it gets dark, I like to have somebody I can, move faster than.
Right. That's why you keep me around.
Yeah. Well,
I'm always bringing up the rear end there.
My short little legs, as you say.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a couple of little stories from occasions where we've had a little bit of activity, and then there's times, many, many times that we've gone out and not a peep,
Right.
even when you and I went out to the bowl that last time after all the other activity we had,
Yeah, nothing.
Not a peep.
Yeah, that happens. Well, obviously more than not, but
then we did have when we did that stealth camping thing in April.
Yeah, all them owls. That was cool.
We were actually there doing more of like a paranormal type thing, and we wound up getting those howls. So
right.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I still need to analyze all that audio and send it off to Monongahela. Oh, and speaking of audio,
yeah,
I mentioned to you that from Behind Tall Trees, right?
Oh,
we
yeah,
about
that's
being
right,
guests
yeah.
on their podcast. So if you haven't checked them out, go check out From Behind Tall Trees. They're part of CARC. It's CARC, I believe, is it's the acronym for that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like we have Trace,
Okay.
they have CARC, CARC,
Okay.
and that's the Catskills.
Oh, okay.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Michael. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but
yeah.
Anyway, they invited us on, right? So we have to make plans to do that. I told them we'd get back to them. But Michael sent me some audio from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
From Allegheny Forest.
and also from central Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And they had a protege of Monongahela analyze their audio. Because I asked them, I said, hey, thank you for sharing this with me. Because that's, that's how it should be. If we had,
yeah.
you know what I mean? We should share this type of research
why
so that
not?
we can piggyback off of it,
Yeah.
So it was David Ellis does their audio analysis.
Their audio. Okay.
And I was able to see a communication between the two groups where David mentions Monongahela.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he is like the guru when it comes to the audio, though, that's for sure.
Absolutely. We should, I think it's because of his extensive catalog of animal sounds and potential Squatch sounds,
Yeah.
that he's able to really give us more of a definitive conclusion. But
Well, that, and he has a knack for sitting in front of a computer like this.
and I don't have that knack, right? But he tends to pick up on wood knocks, or at least knocking audio that I don't hear. You know what I mean?
Well, it's because he's watching it on that Audacity.
That's what it is.
And he sees that.
And he's seeing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they call that? The
the little line that goes up and down. That's what they call it.
Yeah, there's a term on it. I forget. But so anyway, it was nice of Michael to share that information with me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And he appreciated me listening to it and giving him my feedback, But so yeah, we need to do more of that. It's just so many things, that we've done over these years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've forgotten. Do you know what I mean? I've forgotten more things.
One thing that I thought was really cool, and it never dawned on me. I had a bunch of the East Coast expeditions guys up. Charles Kimbrough was up in Pennsylvania. Monongahela was there, and we were driving around. My first expedition. We're driving around and we're chasing these 4 porcupines down the road, and they never saw a porcupine before. Or something. They were going nuts to see porcupines out in the wild.
No kidding.
And we're like chasing 4 of them down the road. They'd try to go left, so I'd go left, then they'd go to the right. It was fun chasing them down the road. Can't probably give them heart attacks though. Then they jumped on the bank and just put their quills straight out. Like, go ahead, crawl up the bank at me.
Yeah,
it was pretty neat.
Yeah, they can be intimidating.
It was amazing. I didn't know they didn't have porcupines down there.
No, neither did I. I would imagine they would, though.
Yeah, I thought so.
Possums, they definitely have possums, and
I think so. But yeah, porcupines.
Wow,
they were going nuts over the porcupines.
I just thought about another thing. The other day, Monday, I was all up in my head about this whole car thing, right? And banking stuff, being a small business owner, sometimes there's stress, right? So Mondays I'm off. So I said, you know what? Going out in the woods.
Yeah.
So I got my gear together. I went to a closer area. In fact, down the road from that campsite that you just mentioned that Terry hated.
Yeah.
But I parked the vehicle right off the forestry road in front of a trailhead. Okay. I've never been down this trail before. So I said, okay. I went in talking to the locals.
Okay.
You know how I always say my little, hey, great spirit, allow me to enter your forest, right?
Right.
Grant me greater understanding, compassion, and awareness, right? Of your shy forest creatures. So I do that. And then as I'm walking down this trail, which I'd never been down, first time, I'm speaking out loud and saying, hey, I'm just here. I'm not going to take any of your food sources. I'm not here to mess with anything. I'm not going to disrupt anything. I'm just letting them know I come in peace. You know what I mean?
Right.
Trying to put out that positive energy that we talk about doing, right? I did this. And I come upon a washout where there's a cedar swamp and like there's a tree pushed over, well, fallen over. Not pushed over. who knows?
Not everything's Bigfoot.
Not everything is. But there's a tree that's fallen over, and there's a lot of other, trees also in the cedar area knocked over. And it brought back a memory of when I had been in this exact location with Kevin and Art one night, where the road was actually closer to the main road, though, that we had gone down. And I was with Kevin, where we saw this exact same type of washout. Well, this region was old cranberry bogs. Okay. And so I followed this trail all the way down after I checked out. And again, I looked in any areas where there was soft mud or soft, earth. I looked for tracks, and I kept putting out good energy, talking to him as I'm walking, right? And I was just exploring and looking at different tree manipulations. Finally, the trail ends at a creek, and the bridge is washed out.
Yeah.
So I see how there's like a game trail that goes off to the right. So I start following the creek, and I found a big fresh tree, broken, like 4.5, 5 feet high off the ground. I found some other interesting, what I thought looked like tree manipulations, but I didn't come across any tracks on any of the areas where they possibly would be, right?
Right.
And eventually I turned around, went back onto the trail, went back out, and then I made a right down another trail. And again, wound up coming out at this creek. Now, here there was another washout, but it looked like it was a dam. And I probably could have jumped across and again to get to the other side.
Yeah.
But at that point, it had already been like an hour and a half of hiking. So I wasn't really going to take a chance. I was there by myself. But I did a little short video, which I don't think I posted. So maybe I should do that. I'll post that before this episode airs. So if you're watching this, hopefully you got to check out the other one. But just again, what it's like out there. Like you said, these trails, man, they just intersect and they go off in different directions. You can get turned around pretty easy.
Yes, very, very easy.
So if you're not familiar with the area, now I do have a good sense of direction now, but.
And it's not like you can ever say, oh, I went uphill to that area, because you never go uphill.
Nope.
There was the best part about
there was a couple
New
of,
Jersey.
Slight because of the creek and everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like mounds of dirt, but there ain't no hills.
No hills, nah. But in this short video clip that I took, I mentioned the encounter that occurred there back in the 80s. A young guy went there, just a solo camp, right? He gets his campsite set up, and these are, again, abandoned bogs. Collects his firewood, makes a small fire, and he's hearing something circling around his camp, right? And he makes dinner, still hearing something out in the brush, but he can't see anything. Gets done with his dinner, gets in his tent to go to sleep. Something comes up to the tent, and he hears it approaching and sounds like it's bipedal.
Right.
It screams so loud. Oh man, it screams at him so loud. He freaks out. He has like just a little hunting knife with him. That's it for protection.
Yeah.
He says, "Get out of here. Leave me alone." And it did. It
Yeah, they usually will.
You know what I mean? But the next morning, he writes he got the heck out of there at the first sign of daylight. He packed up his crap and left. Why
doesn't anybody pack up in the dark?
People do.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people's reports where they do. Some of them just leave their shit and get.
I have heard that they just get in the car and drive away
and don't even go back for it.
It can stay. Yeah.
Like they can have it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then I've had other reports where people have abandoned their campsite because of intimidations, right?
Right.
And then have gone back to retrieve their gear, and it's all strewn about. Tents are torn up.
Yep.
But that's the one thing I haven't had, is that screaming
in your face,
in my face, right? Which is one thing I look forward to having one day. I mean, I got growled at, but not screamed at.
Yeah.
Have you ever had this? I think you said you did.
Something happened.
Yeah, you did. You did. Remember?
In
PA.
Kentucky.
No, in
What?
PA. You that
the growl.
the scream. You said it was like a growl.
Oh well, yeah, that was
howl scream.
It,
right?
that what? See, I don't consider that at me though.
Well,
Like it wasn't like bluff charging and
felt
screaming
it.
at me. Oh, I felt it, but I'm still glad, just so glad it didn't know we were there. Maybe that's why it screamed, because it knew we were there. But
maybe
good
you
God.
surprised it. Maybe it came up on, saw your campsite and was like, ah.
Yeah, no, I think it was out next to the road. I think it
You
was
said
on the
that,
road
yeah.
and it saw my truck for sure.
Maybe.
But
Damn.
good Lord, that scared the crap out of me.
Oh man, if it was just me and Heather, I would be like,
Yeah. And the
Save
first thing,
me.
like I said, the first thing that went through my mind was, and I don't have my gun.
and you're not, yeah.
Yeah. At least I don't know what I would have done with it, but I would have went down shooting. But
Honestly, I have to say, I don't know that a gun's going to make a big amount of difference,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think if that, Terry still doesn't want to admit it, but I think if it wasn't a Squatch, it was a dog man for sure.
Yeah.
Because it was just a weird sound.
And again, we've talked about this too. I don't know. We're going to be doing a dog man episode with
Right.
our witness from the border of Wisconsin and Illinois, I think. Ted, I think. No, Stan's his name, Stan. So that'll be interesting to hear. Of course, I've said this, that I feel like they're misidentifications, like Jersey Devil misidentifications are actually Bigfoot. But
Right.
then you hear these reports of the long, right, muzzle,
Snouts and
the pointy ears, tail, right, the legs with like the right, how the legs go, the backwards bent legs. So these are witness reports. So I don't discount it. I just feel like that's,
oh, you can't. Yeah.
So I've been doing a little bit more research and reading up on it and checking out some other podcasters, but I don't know. So
Boy,
hey,
a couple of the reports that I've heard, I don't want to see one.
I wouldn't either, because they're usually a little more violent, I think, I would definitely think scarier.
Yeah, definitely.
Sharp canines, right?
Yeah. If they're just mean, they sound meaner than what any Squatch encounters.
Yeah. I don't know. But like I said, I'm interested in hearing what Stan has to say. And I think we're going to invite Dan, Uncle
That's
Dan,
right?
Or Brother Dan.
Brother Dan, Dan the man.
Dan the man, to join us on that one. So that'll be fun. Hey, I know it's getting late and I'm sorry I took up a little extra time tonight.
That's all right.
But hey, we managed to pull off a few minutes of talking about Squatch, and that's what this is called, right? Squatch Talks.
Squatch Talks. That's right.
So again, real quick, the contest is still going on for the Yeti bars. Okay, so check out our friends at yetibars.net. I sold my first Yeti bar today to one of our viewers. Okay.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And so yeah, that's kind of cool. Got a little display set up, and hey, there's a contest. You can win $500 between now and August 21st. So you have until August 20th to get an order in. And if you order over $75, you get free shipping. But if you put STP10 at checkout, you get 10% off that order as well. So
send in your ideas for the Squatch Talks podcast bar. What should that smell like?
Yeah, we're getting them to make us up one. So hey, any ideas what you would like it to stink like? And not Squatch ass.
That's right. No Squatch ass.
We've already discussed this. So anyway, Nathan, I'm glad you and I were able to get together. Hopefully Brian will be feeling better by next time.
Hopefully.
And we're going to be coming up with that dog band stories coming up soon. So stay tuned. And thank you all for tuning in and keeping track of what we're doing and supporting the channel. Remember to give us a share and a like. And hey,
thanks for squatching.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Squatch Talks Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and give us a like. And stay tuned for more exciting stories on Squatch Talks.
Oh, you know what's funny? I was editing last week's episode. I got to share this with you. And I had talked about Heather's paranormal experiences at her mom and dad's, right? And I mentioned how I was in my office and I heard somebody knock and say, Eric, right? And I said, come on in. Nobody was. And when I went to open the door, nobody was there.
Yeah.
And how I'm sometimes sitting in my office and I think I hear the door open. And so I get up and I go out and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
As I'm at the point in the episode where I'm saying this, I'm editing, I hear the door open
And nobody's there.
and I push pause, like I do. I pause it.
Hmm.
I walk out. There's nobody there.
Wow.
How weird is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So I
To
don't
this
know.
day, when we're sitting at my mom's house,
Mhm.
like having dinner or whatever, we can hear the screen door open and close on the back door.
Huh.
But it's not the screen door that's there now. Now it's one of those nice vinyl,
Right.
Back then it was one of them old crappy screen aluminum jobs that would clink, clink, clink,
Mhm,
It had
mhm.
the actual glass panes in it. That's the door you hear screech open and slam shut.
Right. Wow.
It's weird.
That is strange. And then I've had a couple of strange dreams too so I hung up a dream catcher on the
Yeah.
bed, but it's only this big. I got rid of the big one, so I don't know if it's big enough to capture my weird strangeness, my high strangeness,
Yeah.
as Brian likes to say. So, I don't know. I mean, there's stories that I know I've had, like, with Kevin and Art out in the Pine Barrens, where we've had trees pushed over and we've had some strange vocalizations and things like that. I just don't know how that would come out in an episode. I mean, or we've talked about all the times we've been out and haven't had experiences.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk a couple of those stories real quick? And
Yeah.
we could do that and fill up 30 minutes, right?
Hopefully.
All right.
With what you already got in another 20.
I think so.